What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name is Josh, and on today's episode, we're going to be recapping a space that David spoke in a couple weeks back now. This was actually when the Blackpink drop happened. He mentioned some key points that I thought were good to recap, so we're going to do that in today's video. Grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So to start things off, they were actually going for one of the Blackpink drops during this space. And so David was asked how many points did he spend going for the drop. Now he didn't say the exact amount, but he said he's saving points for other things coming up. So this was kind of funny because at this point, a couple people in the space actually went back and reduced the amount they bid on drop. He said MCP is set up, but VeVe is currently waiting for larger IP to approve certain aspects of the program. And this is where he actually addresses something we talked about in our last episode, which is the approval process. And in his words, he says that it takes a long time to get certain things approved. He says he wants to create an exclusive experience for those who use MCP points, but at the exact same time, the company has to think about new users coming in because these new users are not going to be thinking about MCP points the same way as the OGs. So he talks about how they do need to find that balance. He ends it by saying there are going to be exclusive redemption options to kind of build on that experience, but that's nothing that we haven't heard before. So moving on, David talks about the Little Mermaid drop and how that performed. Now, unfortunately, the drop was a little disappointing for David. He was actually hoping it was going to be bigger. He actually goes as far as saying that this collectible is probably going to be the best collectible on the app once it's completed. And that's a quote from him. Which, I don't know about you guys, I find that quite controversial. We got like the best Marvel comics on the app, we got the partner statue and the Miles Morales, so to say that this is going to be the best collectible, I mean, those are some fighting words. So we'll see. But the key part here is that he does say once it's completed. So there is going to be something else coming, and he says that whoever has been holding the piece should be very excited. Now, I know we're talking about Blackpink a lot recently, but we are heading back to the band here. David says that there's a lot more behind the scenes than just the collab with the artist and YG. In fact, he says that there's a reason why VeVeVibes is part of that launch. Now, an interesting point that was mentioned during this space is that K-pop idols don't normally tag the designers of the fashion brands that they work with. Apparently, unless it's sponsored or sensitive content, they tend to avoid doing this because of endorsements that they have, conflicts of interest. So the fact that we not only got an endorsement from all four girls, but several band members actually reposted the content themselves on their own profile photos on social media, like Lisa on Instagram. That's apparently incredibly hard to do, and then David also adds that it's hard to get all four talents in the same room. So although that video they filmed for VeVe wasn't them probably coming in to film that specifically for VeVe, they were probably doing something larger and then just film that 30-second clip or whatever, but David mentions how they do a lot of promos, of which only a fraction get approved. So David himself didn't really know much about the video. He was told that one was being made. He didn't know if it was even going to get approved. So next up, probably one of the best questions I've heard in a very, very long time. How does VeVe prioritize their resources to tackle present versus future tasks? So features the team wants to implement in the future, announcements they want to make. How do they prioritize that stuff versus things that are needed now, like bugs being fixed on the app? So David says, and we've heard this before, that his job every day is to think 6 to 18 months ahead. He mentions the importance of staying ahead of the competition. The example he uses here is the new website, so VeVe 2.0. There's apparently new tech involved. David also mentions that up until this point, a lot of drops that have been happening have to do with them securing the first appearance. And this is because long-term, they do think that this could help draw more eyes to the platform when the digital side is more mainstream and more people are kind of looking at what is the first of what. He says that historically, first appearances have always become the most valuable and sought after. He talks about Michael Jordan's first game-worn jersey, among other things, and that timing is a key element. And that's a quote from him. My only follow-up question to this is, why do this during Star Wars month? Huh? Where are my damn Jawas? I'm just playing. No, I'm not. I want my Jawas. Come on. He did always say that they're not always going to get it right, though. So I would apply that to this scenario here, but maybe you guys can drop like a Jar Jar and make up for it. Which, by the way, if they did that, VeVe would not be the only one because Fortnite did a Star Wars drop on May the 4th. didn't drop anything for the rest of the month, and then just had another Star Wars drop with way better stuff than they dropped on May the 4th, like Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Padme, and I spent all my damn V-Bucks. I was like, why are you guys dropping this now? Anyway, side note, little rant, sorry. So moving on, we got a question about digital fashion and whether David's interested in pursuing this category or not. To make a longer story short, he is. We already have the Christian Louis shoes on the platform, but the main question is whether we're going to be able to wear this stuff in AR or with our avatars in the VeVeVerse. His answer to that was that there's a restriction on what they can release and what they can do based off the graphics right now. So for example, he didn't actually mention it in the space, but I know the team has talked about the complexity behind the fur or the hair on Cookie Monster. David says that our phones don't display the full quality, which we of course know, but when this becomes more accessible, meaning more people can get into a space and experience better graphics, VeVe can start to release more complex collectibles. So collectibles involving fabrics, hair, fur, etc., but things right now that the technical capabilities on our phone are preventing them from doing. Moving on, David talks more about VeVeVibes. So he says they see music as a mass market category. Now the goal with this is to attract new users, but he says it's not just about the collectibles. It's about what VeVe can build into them in the future. I put AI in brackets there because I know David has mentioned how, his vision is to be able to talk to collectibles one day. He didn't mention at the time that it was just something he's thinking about, so just to be clear there. He mentions how platforms like iTunes and Spotify changed the music industry, so the shift back then. Now another one's happening where record companies are looking for new ways for people to collect music. So VeVeVibes, the perfect solution. Next up, he talks about VeVe's long-term play here and how they're running a marathon, not a sprint. He says that if VeVe was to announce the largest artist in the world, that would put a lot of pressure on the company to continue delivering. So they don't want the fire to go out. They want to keep the fire lit long-term in ways to do this when it comes to IPs, announcing new partnerships, but also new categories. He also said, and I really liked hearing this, that not every drop is going to be for everyone, but something on the app will. And that reminded me of Amazon. They started with books, and now they have everything that anyone could want. And last but not least, a bit of a controversial one, because I've seen some people in the community mention this recently, but VeVe's roadmap. And David's answer to this is that VeVe doesn't really have one. Now, I know they used to have a document that they updated that actually had the term roadmap right on it that showed all the tasks and their, percentage until completion. I do believe that was for 𝗘𝗵𝗻𝗖, so I don't know if he's separating the two here, but I know some people aren't going to like hearing that. His reasoning behind it is that the final destination is always going to be moving. Okay, so VeVe's trying to build the new standard. The mark's always going to be on the move. And he says that part of that standard is making the community feel safe about collecting from home. I do feel like they've done a very good job at doing that. I would also like to add here that they did give us a bit of a roadmap for the VeVeVerse, the different stages from Unity to Unreal Engine to streaming, and then also how they would release content over time, gamification, that type of stuff. So I would argue that that is a bit of a roadmap. And like I said before, they were a lot more open about that stuff before than they are now. So to me, it's clear that the turtle head has gone into the shell. I'm just hoping, guys, that when that VeVeVerse opens, we get to see that face again. So with regards to the graphics, the VeVeVerse will help with that. Accessibility, same thing. I definitely understand the point about how the mark's always going to move, but I can also see how people in our community will misunderstand this. Ladies and gents, that is going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. That's going to be a recap of David's appearance on the Blackpink X Space that happened a couple weeks back and all the key points he discussed. Quick reminder that our Discord is now open to everybody. So if you guys do want to join, a link is in the description. But if you enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe, comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. And as for next, I'll catch you then.